Hi everyone, this is Lisa Wolfe and I am here to help explain to you exegetical assignment number 1 on textual and historical criticism. So you have your instruction page, hopefully, that's what I have here, and make sure that you either have a copy of it handy, pause and get that, or get it up on your computer screen in another window so that you can follow along. So let me note that this assignment is due in the Moodle Dropbox on September 25th. And I also want to note the first thing on there, which is that you are to have read Hayes and Holiday through page 71 before you do this assignment. So you really need to be familiar with the material in that textbook before you undertake this assignment. So this assignment is 2 pages long, and yes, you will come up with much more research and insight than 2 pages in the course of doing these exercises for this assignment, but you are going to have to do what we know is a challenging task and come up with the most relevant, most important information and write that up in a logical manner that will fit the instructions well. And yes, that is part of the challenge. We know that is difficult. So let me start with the textual criticism part, and what I'm going to do is walk you through a similar exercise with a different passage so that you kind of get the idea of what I'm asking you to do here for textual criticism. So for your assignment, you're going to look at Genesis 49. For our little exercise right now, we're going to look at Genesis 36, verse 2. And that verse is part of a gripping genealogy, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. And it goes like this. Esau took his wives from the Canaanites, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, Oholibamah, daughter of Anon, son of Zibeon the Hivite. So that's verse 2. Little side note here, whenever you're reading difficult to pronounce names or places in the Bible, say it with confidence and make sure you've practiced ahead of time. And if you have a version of the New Revised Standard Version that includes diacritical pronunciation marks, that will help too. But the biggest point is say it with confidence, even if you're making it up and nobody will probably know the difference. So 36 verse 2, Genesis 36 verse 2. What I want you to know for text criticism is that you have a text critical note in this verse. So how to find that is, in the middle you see daughter of Anah, son of Zibeon. Right after the word son, you have a little letter that's raised. And I want you to look at the bottom of the page to see what that letter means. Now, when I say the bottom, I don't mean the very bottom. Do you see there is a line here in your annotated New Revised Standard Version? This one is New Interpreters. The line separates the New Revised Standard Version translation from the commentator's notes that are provided by the New Interpreter Study Bible. So the people at Abingdon Press hired a bunch of scholars to write the notes for the New Interpreter Study Bible. Their notes are below the line. The stuff above the line is from the New Revised Standard Version translation team. That's what we're interested in right now. So if you find the corresponding note there at the bottom of the page above the line, it says what may look like gobbledygook, Sam Gook Seer, Heb, daughter. Well, that doesn't make any sense. So now you have to go to abbreviations. There should be an abbreviations page in your New Revised Standard Version, no matter which one you have, but I will tell you what these abbreviations mean for right now. Sam is the Samaritan manuscript of the Hebrew Bible. Gook is Greek, or Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, and Seer is for Syriac, the Syriac manuscript. So all these abbreviations before the colon are the manuscripts that the New Revised Standard Version translators used to provide their translation. So Samaritan, Greek, and Syriac all say son in their own corresponding languages. After the colon, it says Heb, daughter. That means the Hebrew Masoretic text, which is from 1000 of the Common Era, the standard Hebrew text, says daughter. So our translators had a dilemma. The Samaritan Greek and Syriac said son. The Hebrew Masoretic text, the standard text that is the basis of the largest portion of our English translations, says daughter. And they weighed the possibilities and decided that son is what they would choose. And they're giving us a little insight to their process. They're also reminding us of a bigger picture issue here that you might find relevant to explain to lay persons or not, to point to the last portion of that question, which is more than one manuscript are available to translators of the Bible, and they have made choices about what they use to translate. In some cases, not every single case, but in some cases, there are options. And the New Revised Standard Version is pretty good about sharing with us the times that they had options and they made choices. So, you want to explain that to us in a concise manner, of course. Tell us what those abbreviations are for the footnote that you look up, and then go to 3 other verbal translations to see what they chose in their translation, and also look to see if they provided a footnote about the text critical issue here as well. Finally, we want you to explain this whole process in terms that would be understandable to a lay person, and so that you can kind of make it relevant to what you are doing and or will do. All right, the second part of this assignment is on historical criticism. Again, 1 page, double-spaced. And here you're going to go read that whole pericope, Genesis 49, 1 through 28, again in the New Revised Standard Version. Again is important because you'll notice new things each time. And also read it again in one other verbal translation and tell us what translation you did. So that whole thing is going to take 1 sentence. Then you're going to do some research. Make sure you're using approved scholarly resources, so you can find these in your syllabus, and you can find them on the website for the St. Paul School of Theology Library and the Oklahoma City University Library. And some of the Bible commentaries and Bible dictionaries are available in ebook format. Many, many more are actual, real, hard copy books that you need to go to a library to consult. So you can do that at the St. Paul School of Theology Library, at the Oklahoma City University Library. You may have another university, college, or public library close to you that might actually have some good scholarly commentaries available for you to consult. You can check and then make the trip to use those commentaries to get the research done that you need to do. I do want to note, there are no good free commentaries on the internet. Let me just repeat this. There are no good free commentaries on the internet. So use what's available to you through the library websites and in actually going to the library. I also want to mention there are some books that call themselves commentaries that are really more focused on interpretation for preaching and or devotion. Some of the preaching commentaries are still fairly scholarly, but something that calls itself a devotional is going to be asking different kinds of questions. How does this passage relate to me? And here what we want to know are the answers to historical questions. What do we know about the historical context and the literary context of this passage? So a devotional commentary is not going to be appropriate in this situation. We want you to discuss this historical background and use your footnotes to help keep it concise. So that's where you can tell us the full citation according to Turabian's guidelines on what books you consulted, where you found them, all of the relevant data on those books. You can also make some other additional comments as you think are necessary or useful in your footnotes, and that's another way to save a little space. Try to avoid having actually 2 conversations, but your footnotes can be useful in that way. So I do give you some prompts at the end of 2C on what kinds of things you want to address about the historical and literary background. So the historical background are what kinds of things do we know about the ancient Near East, or what kinds of things do we want to know about the ancient Near East that affect what we read in Genesis 49, 1 through 28. And the literary context is about what precedes this pericope and what follows it in the Bible, and how does that affect what we read here. Finally, do address the theology in this poem. In other words, what we want to know is, what is the ancient author saying about God here? And be open to the possibility that what the ancient author says about God here might not be exactly the same thing you would say about God, and there's nothing wrong with you if that's the case. But we're not asking, what does this mean to me? That's a relevant question, but it's a few steps down the road. First, we want to know, why did the person who write it, and more specifically, what did they want to say about God? And then the question about what does it mean to me is more a question for homiletics and practical theology and so forth. So our job in doing the biblical research is to ask more, what did it mean to the original author? So there's a little thumbnail sketch on what to do with exegetical assignment 1. Harold and I are both completely open to hearing your additional questions about this assignment, and feel free to be in touch with us if you need to ask more questions.